Welcome back, chaps. So we've moved to the underside of the aircraft again, and that is to finish off the last sort of big and technical job. Now I did start filming it, but it ended up being so fiddly that I just had to turn the camera off and focus on what I was doing. But basically we're working on the Edard photo etch Bombay doors. So there is 16 of them, and of that you've got 3 different types. So you've got big doors along the front, smaller doors in the middle, and then these 2 middle end doors have got a check taken out of them, and each door consisted of 3 parts. You had the main door, which needed to be folded, and then 2 hinges, one either side on the door, that also needed to be folded. There were bolt heads to glue onto the hinges, and I just wasn't doing that because they were so small and nobody's going to see them. So using my trusty Tamiya mini bending pliers, and I also used the hold and fold from the small shop. Brilliant tools. I've got a few of these and I absolutely love them. They're really, really good tools. I've made the doors up. Now I've taken a bit of a liberty here in that I ended up gluing them together. I think you're supposed to put them on them individually. There is supposed to be a small gap in between them, but for ease of mounting, I decided I was just going to glue them together so I could glue them in one continuous run along the rod that is in the Bombay. I also thought it would actually be a little bit stronger that way. So we've got the 2 runs of internal doors here. So they go in like so. And then we've got the 2 external runs of doors that go on like so. There are some good pictures on the internet that show them with a slight curvature on the Bombay. Then the doors they're slightly wider apart at the bottom of the doors than at the hinge end. But again, in the interest of trying to make these doors as strong as I can to make them last as long as they can without being knocked or broken off, I did glue them together. So again, that's my artistic take on it, but they should glue in okay. The other thing we've got here, we've got some front air deflectors that glue on, and they are sided. Let's have a look. Yeah, so they go this way around. So they go right in the front of the Bombay, like so. And that's obviously to drop down to stop, to break the airflow up, get turbulence so the bombs drop away. I'm assuming that if there isn't that disturbance there for the airflow, then it makes it harder for the bombs to drop out cleanly. And if you want to go on YouTube, there's some fantastic videos from the 1950s, 60s, where there are US Air Force are doing trials of bomb drops off of underwing pylons, and because of the aerodynamics of the bomb and the aerodynamics of the aircraft, and the actual bomb was sucking itself back up into the aircraft and causing damage and sometimes causing near tragedy. So obviously the Germans were aware of that, and they have these baffles in the front here that disturb the airflow enough to stop the suction so the bombs fall away cleanly. Another thing I've done as well is I've attached the exhausts. Take these off here so I can lift this up and show you. So you can see there on the engine we've got the exhausts on both sides. I did make up the kit exhausts. They're not too bad, I'll give them that. They're really not too bad. However, I ended up using these resin ones that I had with the kit. They are painted in Tamiya metallic grey, and then they've had various Citadel washes I've had started with a sepia wash, and then I used the Agrax Earthshade wash, and then finally, to give them a bit of darkness, a bit of Nuln Oil. And actually, I'm really happy how they've come. They've kind of got that hot stainless steel metal look to them. So the last job, once we get, well, before we glue the Bombays on, is we need to paint in some exhaust staining down over these wings. So that's going to be fun. So that's the jobs to do now. Paint Bombay doors, paint exhaust staining, attach Bombay doors. I've got the last machine gun here ready to go in on this lower gondola, and then I have the pitot tube to attach to the wing. We'll flip it over to put the pitot tube in, and then we've got the aerial mast to finish and put on, and the antenna wire to put on, and then that's it done. We are complete of this absolute beast of an aircraft. So I'm going to clear the Heinkel to one side whilst we spray. We'll get these painted up, and it'll just be painted exactly the same as I painted the Heinkel. I'll give them a coat of Mr. Surfacer just to help grip to the photo etch, and then it'll be the guns Aqueous RLM65. We'll do a bit of highlighting with Tamiya, seal it and wash it. Realistically, with the two middle ones being close together, probably won't need to do much washing. We'll just need to do most of the weathering on these outer ones, so we can focus on that when they're on the aircraft. It won't take very long just to give them a little oil wash. I still have my little pad of oil here, and that does still feel wet enough that we can make up a little bit of a wash that will get the same tone as what we've got on the rest of the aircraft. So that's what we're going to be doing. So I will clear away, and we'll get on spraying. So see you back shortly. Right, welcome back. Got a piece of kitchen paper laid out just to help without spraying the work surface too much. What we've got here is some highly diluted Mr. Primer Surfacer 1000. We'll just need to hold with the tweezers just to stop it blowing away. That's putting a lovely finish down on that. Now this stuff dries really rather quickly, which is nice, so we should be able to flip it over. Now you'll notice that the, if I zoom in a little, so you'll notice that the sort of silver nickel finish that usually accompanies Edar's photo etch sheets has been sanded away, and that's purely to help the super glue adhere to the metal, just to give it a key. So just sanded it with some very fine sanding stick. And you see when the paint goes down, it doesn't actually leave any gouges or scratches in the metal, so it doesn't affect the overall finish, but it just helps with the gluing process. I like to spray a a cellulose based paint on photo etch just seems to get a bit better adherence than the normal acrylic. And we've just had enough. That was the last of that bottle, and I just had enough to finish it, so that is really rather nice. So I'm going to clean the airbrush quickly, and we'll get some RLM02 out so we can spray the interior colour for these parts. So back in a moment. Right guys, so I've cleaned the airbrush out and swapped airbrushes. So I'm now using my Gallery Premium Mobius 0.3, cracking airbrush, especially for doing what we're doing. And I've loaded it up with Tamiya's RLM Grey, so XF22, which is the interior colour used for this build. And we can just start building in the colour. Focusing on the centres of the panels. And it lays down beautifully over the Mr. Surfacer. What we do need to do is spray the ends. And the beauty of having these glued together is it is actually quite a stable part, so it's easy to handle. Now we'll give that a moment just for those to dry off, and then we'll just make sure we're happy with the paint coverage, which I think I am, and then we can think about flipping over and painting the RLM 65. So back shortly. Welcome back guys. So gotten these all painted up, put a little bit of Agrax Earthshade on just to give them a bit of tonal definition, and you can just see there's a bit of tonal definition as well from where we applied the paint in the center of the panels and lightened it to the edges. So they're all done on the inside. We've now got to do the outside. You can see there's been a bit of overwash with the panel shader. These two parts are now painted and washed, so they're actually ready to fix the airframe, which is good. So we're needing the Mr. Hobby Aquis RLM 65, which is H67 in colour. Good shake up, already done that. Now we don't need an awful lot of paint, purely because we're not painting very much surface area. What I do need to do is get my reading glasses on or else I won't be able to see, so bear with me a minute. No, that's better. I can see what I'm doing. So if we do what we did on the main aircraft, so we'll go and we'll highlight the panel lines, and then just shade it over. And don't worry if you're doing this like I've got here, dark colours on there, we can get that blended away with the paint. Main thing is just to get colour on this. And we're also going to come back in with the Tamiya XF23, and that will be used as the highlight, so we'll be able to highlight the center of the panels that way. Last one. So it doesn't, I mean, they're not huge parts. And if you looked at the kit parts as well, then they actually all come in one piece too. So the only real benefit you're getting with these parts is they've got more scale thickness, because obviously photo etch. And they also have the sort of folded detail in them that the kit parts don't have. And you can just see on them that there's the recessed bolt detail. It must be nearly out of paint there, it's sputtering a bit. Right, so I'm going to clean the paint. In fact, I'm going to get a different airbrush actually. So we might want to go back in with that colour just to tidy up. So we use the Galeri Mobius 0.2. And what we need is the XF23, which I should have got out beforehand. So XF23, if you remember, this is our highlight cover colour. Already pre-thinned. Again, with all my paints, it's about a 50-50 thinning ratio, and just a tiny touch of colour in this. Oh, I didn't clean this airbrush out properly. Really didn't clear this airbrush out properly. Right, it should be working now. Yeah. So if you were watching there, then there's obviously a little bit of paint here in the backpacking seals, and if it sets up, you can't work the needle, so you need to give it a bit of a pull through. So, center of the panels, just to highlight them. You see that colour coming through? As always, when you're doing this sort of paint work, you can take the crown cap off. That'll give you a little more extra control on the needle and where the paint coming off the needle. So just the centres of the panels, no more. Leave the middles and the joints. Just watch you don't flood them. Right, that's not too bad. Now we're going to come back in with the first colour. This is the only beauty of having two airbrushes, is that you can do this colour swaps without actually swapping the colour on the airbrush. So we're going to come back in and we're just going to gently go over the panel joints again and then dust over the whole lot just to blend that colour in. That's good. So you can see there's a nice little bit of tonal variation in those panels, just exactly what I've been looking for. And the last thing to do, and you can do this because it's all Tamiya acrylics, is to seal it in with a little bit of semi-gloss varnish. So I'm just giving a quick, really quick colour change in this airbrush. So I put in some airbrush cleaner, clean the colour cup out and blow through. Really quick, down and dirty colour change. Come in with the semi-gloss, and you can do wet on wet with Tamiya. It will be okay. Some paints don't like it. Tamiya doesn't seem to be too fussed for it. So we'll just go in here. There we go, that's those panels finished. So we're going to let them cure up. Once they're cured up, take about 20 minutes, half an hour. Once that paint's handleable, we'll then get the model back over and we'll look to getting them glued on. So we'll see you back shortly. Now chaps, we're back, and as you can see, the model is back on the desk. And we've got the Bombay doors ready to fit. And they're actually looking a real nice colour match to the aircraft. So it just shows that even when you paint things separately, if you paint them carefully, this should match in really well. Right, now the thing to do is get them fixed to the aircraft. What I want to use is my flat nose pliers, tweezers, purely because they're not so pointy, so it shouldn't scratch the paint. So I don't know if you can see, there's a piece of dowel here. I zoom it in a little. Bring it down a little. There we go. So there's a piece of dowel here running on each of these sections, and that's what these hinges to glue onto. Going to use super glue purely because if you knock it, it'll just ping off and it won't break anything desperately, but it'll be a quick attachment. What I need to do is find where I put the super glue, because I can't actually see it at the moment. Ah, there it is, hiding behind my spray out pot. So what we're needing is the applicator. I'm going to do the center sections first, and if we look at this, actually we can see that this piece here needs to be painted the RLM 65 colour, and I didn't obviously figure that out when I was painting this. So we're putting a generous piece of glue on the hinges, and these center hinges are good because they're spaced slightly further apart, so they hold a decent amount of glue. So we're going to rely on them to hold the bulk of the strain of this part. So line it up. Remember, we have to put the wind deflectors in here, so we don't want to block that up, and then it just touches in and holds, and that's gripped nicely, and I'm actually quite happy how that's gone down. That's maybe not 100% correct, but it's good enough for me. Right, second center section, same thing. I actually think I've probably missed the bloody dowel there. Actually, no, that's not going to do. It needs to be there. Hopefully there's enough grip on the glue to get it there. Yes, there is. Just need to get the middle in, and then we will always come back in and reinforce the glue. That's it. So, same again with this. That's the problem when the model gets nearly finished. There's lots of sticky out bits to catch, and that's me just knocked the gun sight on that front gun. Thankfully it's still in place, so we'll be able to hopefully straighten it out and reinforce it. And the one thing to remember about super glue is when it dries slightly gloss. So it might be that if it's a finished painted surface, you need to come in with a little bit of matte varnish just to matte it down. Right, that's gone on reasonably well. It's just wanting to conform nicely there. They're not the best of fits, but they're doing alright. Right, outside ones. It's good to see these going on though, it really is. You think this has been a 4-year build, although the bulk of the work in painting and detailing has been over the last couple of months. It's still a long time to build a model. And I'm really delighted that it's coming to this point where we're nearly over the finish line. So, this piece here, keep it level with the inside doors. Good, got the grip there. Last one. If I zoom out, you'll be actually see me gluing. No, I'll leave it where it is so you can see it. It's nice and detailed. Camera angles can be a tricky thing when you're filming on YouTube. Constantly reminding yourself, keep it in angle, keep it in shot, keep it in shot. Right. Good. Glue, get it the right way around. And that goes in there like so. And line it up with the others. A little bit tricky. But it's in. It's actually a little too far back. It needs to come forward a tiny touch. There we go. Excellent. Now you could use accelerator to help cure this up quicker, but you need to be very careful that you don't get fogging. And fogging's when the accelerator causes the super glue to get a white haze over it. Now looking at how this has gone in, it probably would have been okay to put these in individually. However, I opted not to, so we just have to go with what we've got. So just going to come in with a little bit of extra super glue here, and we'll glue at the back of the door where it's touching, and that will help just give it a little extra support. And I'll come in with some matte varnish just to take the shine off it. Right. Oh. The other thing to be careful is when you're putting super glue on that you just run it and let the capillary action let the glue flow, and then that way you don't end up with big daubs of glue everywhere. But there we go, we are on, the doors are in, and that looks absolutely fantastic. Excellent. Right, I'm going to charge up an airbrush and we're going to run in here and just blend in this piece here. It doesn't actually look too bad, but we'll get it done so it's just nice. And then I'll need to get the baffle doors on. So this one for this side and this one for this side. In fact, we'll just do that now before we do anything else whilst I'm still filming this, and then we can move on to the next job. So some parts like this you can just dip into the glue and they just go on like so. Actually quite a nice fit. There we go. Again, I'll wick in a bit of super glue just to give them a bit of extra. There we go. Check that they're level. And that's that. Wow. So there we go, that is the Bombay's doors on. So you can see them there. Very nice indeed. So I'll let them cure up. I'll get the airbrush charged up. I'll just come in and tidy up that center section, and then we can flip the model back over and we can look at getting the aerial antennas on, pitot tube, and the model will just be about over the, well no actually, let's start that again. I'll charge up the airbrush, we'll paint in here, and then we'll do the exhaust staining down the underside. Then we'll flip it over and get the last few bits done on the top. So back in a moment. Right, so I've got the airbrush charged up. I've taken off the crown cap to expose the needle. I'll just move myself that I'm actually in the right place. I can see where I'm aiming the brush. I'm just going to come in here. We'll start at this end here. Need to actually put more paint in there. There was more cleaner in there than there was paint. There we go. Right, so we'll come in here at the rear. That's it, nicely blended in. Excellent stuff. Right, we'll clean the airbrush out then, and we'll make a mix-up for the exhaust staining. And we're going to do this the same as I did most other things. These things were kind of a dirty, dark grey colour with a little bit of hint of white and brown in there. So let me clean the airbrush and we'll come back and we'll look at the exhaust staining. See you in a moment. Right folks, we're back and I have charged the airbrush with a mixture of mercies, to be honest with you. So 2 seconds while I sort my access out, as I've got a cable dangling down in front of me, which is no use. Right, that's gotten rid of that. So it's a mix of German grey, rubber black, and a little bit of red brown to get that kind of sooty, oily, greasy type spray on the go. And looking at reference photos, all went under the wing. So this is where we're going to start. If I do that, will that make it better or worse? No, not too bad. So we want to start in here and let's go back along the wing. Just up the air pressure a little. Right. Again, I'm bobbling away just to try and get that sort of patchy, mottly finish. In real life it would get some of this doors dirty. We'll just spray under there a little bit. It does look pretty severe, I'll give you that. And in reality it is quite severe. However, this is only the first stage of it. We're going to come back in with a little bit of light grey, just to even the colour out, balance it out. This is quite heavy and dark, but you can see it's faded towards the end and it's heavier at the front, and that's what we're wanting. Remember, just give the exhausts a going over too. Focus towards the rear more than the front, as the rear tubes will obviously catch everything from every exhaust in front of them. And you can have one engine running heavier than the other. There we go. That's quite nice, heavy, oil-filled exhaust stains. A little bit wispier on this engine. Maybe running a bit leaner. Newer engine. There we go. So, what now? Well, now we need to come back in with a lighter colour, just to lift this a little. If I can get the paint pot open, because it's predominantly dark grey, I'm happy enough to chuck it back in to the German grey pot. It'll all blend together nicely. I've not bothered cleaning the airbrush out though. What I will do is add in a little bit extra thinners. and we'll go and find some either maybe XF19 or XF20. Maybe XF20 because it's kind of a more brown light grey. Dark sea grey, that'll do. So dark sea grey to lighter grey, XF54. We don't need a lot of this, we just need to lift the richness of the dark grey with this kind of murky grey. So I'm not pouring the paint in, I'm just using the brush to lift it out of the pot and add it to the airbrush, because it won't take much to change the hue of the colour. It's probably about 80% thin as 20% paint, so it's very, very thin, so we'll be able to put nice thin translucent coats down, and that gives us a little more control over what we're doing with the airbrush. We'll blow through the original paint to get this lighter colour to come through, and then we'll come back in, start from this side here, so a little wisp on the exhausts, and then focus on the centre of where you've put the paint streaks, and don't go all the way back with it. Feather it back, but you want to focus right on that feathered edge there. So same again, just feather the exhausts, and then in here, and then run it back, focus on the front and run it back. You can go over the edges a little. There you go, get that sooty mark going back over the end, right back over the flaps. Same again here. And that's it, just about there. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that actually. That is some really heavy run smoky engines. Now the thing to do, as I said, is we'll need to actually turn this over. Just show you that there. It's looking rather nice. Nice bit of soot and stuff on the doors kicked up, because they'll catch it when the doors are, well obviously when the doors are closed, but they'll catch it when they're open. So we've got the exhaust staining on, which I'm really happy about. Take that off because we don't want to drop that anywhere. Move that fellow out of the way. And let's set her over. Not knocking anything. There we go, get it back down there. Happy days. And we'll just come in with this paint on the top of the exhausts here then. Right on the tips. Right, no more than the tips. Can you see that? No, probably not. We'll look on. If I move that under there, you should be able to see it. So let me just finish this side. So we're just running this along the tips of the exhaust. And again, focusing from the front to the back, so the back's catching more than the front, as it would normally in life. And that just gets that bit of sooty hue on the exhaust. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Right, that's exhaust staining done. Right, we're back for the last job before I knock off for the night. I've just repainted the antenna to this dark green here, purely because I've looked at a few reference photographs and I can't see any of them that look like they're wood, so I'm just going to go for the dark green. Now, just going to glue it tonight and we'll let it set up. And that's purely because the next job will be stringing up the antenna. So being very careful with the glue. We just want to load the pin up on the bottom here and then place it in the hole. Quick eyeball down the aircraft to make sure it is orientated in a straight line. And then we're just going to let the glue do its job overnight and let it cure up solid. So back in the morning, stringing up the antenna wire. I have the part with the pitot tube and then this antenna that goes out the bottom. It's going to be the last piece to put on, and then we're going to call this one done. So, oh, and we've also got to paint the clear red and green on the wingtip navigation lights. But yeah, we're really close. So I'm off to bed. See you in the morning. It'll only be a couple of seconds for you guys, and we'll get this thing finished. See you soon. Welcome back, guys. So we are now on to the last job. So you'll see here on the wing we've got some 0.3 millimeter elastic thread, and the white pieces are just white styrene rod, hollow rod, turned down in a drill, sanded down to profile to make a couple of insulators. So obviously one for the tail and one for this part. Now, I have looked for reference pictures for this, and I've really come up short. I can't find very many detailed reference photographs at all, but I've just scoured Tinternet, or on the interwebs, and basically come up with this two-stage insulator assembly. So what do we do, I hear you say? Well, luckily for us, Revell were very kind, and they provided a hole in the tail for us to thread something through, and the 0.3 mil elastic fits really rather nicely in that. So we can loop that through, and then just with the tweezers, in fact, I'm going to get the flat nosed one, so it might be better. So we need a little bit of super glue on our upturned jar. Try and not damage this model any more as we already have. Just dink the nose. Right, so just fold the wire back on itself, capture in both pieces, and then we can just hold them together and glue them to make a bite or an eye. Might even just have to do it by hand. This is quite fiddly when you've got camera set up in front of you as well. Of course, elastic thread doesn't want to play ball. There we go. So, there we were. Right, so we've gripped it nice and tight. You want to put a little bit of pressure on it, just so we can get the super glue on the thread and then it'll join together. Guess who didn't clean his applicator off? Right, pinch it together. There we go, we've got a loop. So the next phase is to join onto the front mast here. Just burn the super glue off that applicator so we can actually use it. So gripping the thread, keeping the insulators well away from the two ends. So you want to basically get the thread and then pull it so it's taut. So you see where it's dipping like that? Probably difficult to see from the angle you're at, but dipping like that. You just pull it so it's taut and no more, because you don't want to overstress it. It needs to be tight enough that it's not going to go slack over time, but it also needs to be not too tight that it bends the plastic aerial mast. So when we're happy on the tautness of the aerial, we just come in and glue it to the top of the mast. If the glue is fresh, we should get an instant bite, and it will adhere rather quickly. There we go. Now the main thing here is do not cut the super glue off until it's had a chance to really cure up, because it will be quite easy to pull off. There really isn't a huge gluing surface. So whilst that end's drying, what we can do is just come back in here with a little bit more glue, close that bite up a bit, and we can slide the insulator up the line. And we just want to capture the loose end and get that fed into the hole in the insulator. That'll tie that end up nicely. There we go. Drop of super glue either end. Now the capillary action of the hole in the center will actually draw the super glue off the applicator, and it is there nicely. Try and get this little bite closed up. At all costs, try and avoid getting your fingers glued together to the line. It will just pull it apart. Right. Just need to glue the end on the front there. Sometimes it doesn't play ball. Right. Now, what we need is a very sharp scalpel. And then we just pull taut on the wire, and then use that scalpel blade to clean it off. Now this other end, we've got a little bit of a loose end. I need to be very careful with a pair of scissors and just come in and cut that away. Of course, avoiding cutting the other side of the wire, otherwise you'll end up having to start again. That's it. Move this insulator down here, like so. Super glue again. There we go. And that is our antenna wire with ceramic insulators. Now they may be slightly overscaled, these ceramic insulators, but I'm afraid it's all I can muster with the stuff I've got. Yeah, maybe could have done it with slightly smaller, or we could have just done it with the old super glue on line trick. However, the ones I did see online did look to be quite chunky affairs, so I'm happy just to go with it, and we'll paint them a slightly less bright color. We'll paint them more of a ceramic porcelain color, which should make them stand out a little less and not look so garish as they do at the moment. So the beauty of doing it with super glue is it dries really quickly. So we can just fill the center with super glue so we don't end up with hollow ceramics. Happy there. And I'm happy there. Right. So there we go. Last job to do is a bit of rubber black paint, just to colour that line down, and a little bit of bone colour or ceramic colour. So I will just get the paints organised and we'll come back, paint this, and then we are actually done. Back in a moment. Right chaps, we're back and we have the aerial antenna all painted up. So there we go, you can see black wire on with the two insulators. It's a good representation. It might not be 100% accurate. Always happy to be corrected in the comments below, but for me it looks okay. Oh, tea. And that's it. The model's finished. Got our upper gunner section to go in. Don't know how many times I've managed to drop that off. And we're done. All the guns are in. The gondola gun's in. I've got the pitot tube here, which I am constantly knocking, which I knew I was going to. And we've got the see it on the wingtips there, the navigation lights port and starboard done as well. So there we go. I'm going to change the camera angle around. We'll get back onto me in person, and then we can actually have a final thought on how the build went, pitfalls, highlights, and just generally the model in general. So back in a moment. So there we go, guys, on the bench, completed after 4 years, from the Shelf of Doom, Revell's 132nd, Heinkel 111 P6, well H6, but I think it's a P1, I've painted it as. So, thoughts, well, it's a hell of a lot of kit, it really is a hell of a lot of kit. 132nd is a massive scale in anyone's book, and a twin engine medium bomber is always going to be a big kit, and it's a kit of its age, built and tooled in the early 2000s, but it goes together really well, and that's including all the extras that were thrown at this. So let's have a look at it. We put in a photo etch, well, the big Ed photo etch set, so that's Bombay's, it's wheel wells, cockpit enhancements, whatever else, quite a few bits and pieces. It's got resin wheels and tires, it's got resin exhausts, it's got resin radios, an interior, magazines, and it's also got the HGW fabric seat belts. So it's had pretty much everything you can thrown at it to bring it into what it is now. Now, those of you who are more akin to He111s than I am will obviously know, and it's been pointed out to me, that I've painted it in the wrong scheme for the age of the aircraft. So this is a late model aircraft with the late model engine, so the props are wrong, and the engine air intakes are on the wrong side of the engine itself. That aside, this was the scheme I was always wanting to paint for it. So I've just backdated it and taken the hit that, yeah, okay, there's some errors in the kit. It's my errors, it's not the kit errors. If I was to build it from the box with either the two 1,000 kilo bombs or torpedoes, it would be correct. But I wanted to build a Battle of Britain era model, and at the time this kit was purchased, the H6 was the only variant available. Revell had not retooled the P variant, which is the one I needed for the Battle of Britain. So there we go. That's what it is. I'm happy with it, so that's what, where we're going. The problem you've got with this kit is it's just unobtainium. You can get it on eBay, but you are going to be paying in the region of 180 to 190 pounds UK for it. If you can get it cheaper, you're doing really, really well, and I would say definitely snap it up if you can get it cheaper than that. But that's the average asking price at the moment. Doesn't mean they're selling for that, but that's what sellers are asking for it. So if you want it and you desperately want it, you're just going to have to pay for what you're going to have to pay to get it. Is it worth it? Well, probably yeah, because if you want a 132nd He111, this is the only one on the market. Its original price was around about £55. Was it worth it then? Oh yeah, and some. I mean, it's a lot of kit for £55, and you start chucking the extras at it to really bring the detail up in it, and it's a fantastic kit. Was it worth me picking it back up off the shelf of doom and getting over that builder's block I had with it? 100% yes. I am so glad that I revisited this kit. I really enjoyed getting it to this point, getting it over the finish line, and all the painting and stuff, everything I've done on it. It's one of those builds that you wonder why you ever stopped it in the first place. There obviously was a reason. I'd obviously fallen out of love with the kit, but I am so glad that I gave myself a metaphorical kick up the backside to get this kit back on the bench and get it over the finish line. What have I learnt from the kit? Well, A, I've learnt you can finish a model you left 4 years ago, and B, it's perseverance. Take your time, look at what you're doing, and just go for it. Painting wise, well, obviously I have used exclusively Galeria airbrushes, and hopefully you've seen on the painting videos that I've done how well they performed. They perform very well with Gun Sanyu paints, the Mr. Aqueous paints. They also perform very well with the Tamiya acrylic paints. So, if you get your paint mix right, they're fantastic brushes, as with any other airbrush. Application wise, they're really good too. You've got your fine needles, fine needle control, and then you go right up to the swallowtail where you've got a fan cap where you can do the wide area coverage, and it laid down an absolute beautiful layer of paint. It really was silky smooth, beautiful atomization, and just the right amount of air pressure to lay that paint down on the surface and cover what is a huge canvas to paint. So can't fault them. Anyone interested in them, I know it's a shameless plug, there is a link down in the comment section below, and there's a 10% discount code. So if you put KTM in the discount code box at the checkout on the Galeria's web shop, you'll get 10% on top of your order, and if you time it right, you may catch it when they've got a bit of a flash sale on, so you'll get 10% on top of the reduction, so that makes them even more of a bargain. So Galeria airbrush definitely something to consider if you're interested in the market of getting a new or a second airbrush. So thoughts. Is the model worth building? 100% yes. I've already said that, but I'm really excited about the model. Is it worth going back to your shelf of doom and digging something off the shelf of doom? Absolutely yes. So there it is. It's a fantastic, huge display piece. And it's something that if you get built and you've got space to put it, you're going to get a lot of people looking at it and admiring it. So that's that. That's the end of the build. We're on to the next build shortly. I'll be getting the inbox review done over the next couple of days, and then we'll start building, and it's obviously something completely different. It's armour, it's not aircraft, so it's something out of my usual YouTube filming. As always, I am so grateful and thankful for everyone that's taken the time to subscribe to the channel. It means the world to me. It kind of validates what I'm doing and gives me the enthusiasm and encouragement to carry on. If anybody wants to subscribe to the channel, please consider doing it. It does help beat the YouTube algorithm, and it makes the content more viewable for everyone else. So if you can consider subscribing, I'd be grateful. If you have any questions, comments, or anything you want to know about the kit, or what I've worked with, or the equipment and tools I've used, put a comment down below. I always take time to read every comment that comes in, and I always make an effort to answer every comment too. I'm very grateful for people who take time to make comments on the videos. So that's it, guys. Until next time, see and take care. Happy modeling, and we'll see you soon.